Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet.
Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. My name is Wes Coons, and welcome back to the show. Hello, everybody. We have a special guest today. Margaret, say hi.
Hey, hello. I'm happy to be here again.
Excited. I love having you on the show. We just had dinner together, and a conversation with Margaret is always so fascinating. You talk about things that I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
That's okay. At least you listen.
Yeah, I do. One of the fun things about this show is we've got the best listeners ever. Our audience is growing like crazy. We just published about 2 weeks ago a special message from Lakota One Heart that's really beautiful. That's to the world. We always get a ton of listeners for her message. Is really beautiful.
Her energy is really something else, and her abilities and her knowledge. It's a pleasure to sit and just talk to her.
I have to be honest, I don't know what, probably 95% of the stuff she does, I don't even know how to explain it or comprehend it or whatever. It's quite interesting.
Or to even know how.
Yeah, right? She did some work for me. She works, I don't know how to explain this, but she goes to sleep and then she works on people and remembers the work that she does and still somehow gets rest. But she did some work for me, and I happened to be awake when she was doing it, and I got to feel that. That was really cool.
That is really cool. That's quite an ability to be able to do that while you're sleeping and to fully remember that. We do all kinds of stuff while we're sleeping, but to consciously be able to direct that, like lucid dreaming, I wonder if she's going into what some might call a dream state and then being able to operate from there. It totally fascinates me how she did that for you.
It's funny, when you talk to her in a human state, she forgets. If she works on somebody in human state, she forgets. But when she does it in dream state, the next day she remembers it.
Because she's in the energy of it. That's like when I do readings or maybe even do healing session on people, and they'll say, I'll see them a week later, or 6 weeks later, a month, whatever. They'll say, oh, remember when you said this? No, I don't. Because it's not mine, so it's in and out. It's not my energy. But as soon as you say one thing or two things, I'll go right back in the energy, and the whole entire session is right before me again in great detail. Until then, it's not mine, so I don't have to witness it or participate in it. It's information that I don't need to record in my subconscious. Our subconscious has enough garbage in there. Why add more to it? Spirit is really good about doing that. And I know other people that do readings, that same thing happens. Right. It comes in, you work on it, and it's out. And then the next, even a day later, you will have little recollection of it.
Let me ask you this question. When I'm speaking to somebody, and for example, if they're talking about a house that maybe there's some dark energies in there or something's off, probably within the first 10 seconds of them talking about it, I can see the house. I can see where it's at. I know it's there. Why does it work that way? How can I, what is it?
Because you're connected into their energy. It's all about energy. They say we're all connected. Everybody's saying that. And the truth of the matter is we actually are. Let's say my sister has a best friend that I don't even know who this is. But because I'm connected to my sister and she's connected to them, I'm also connected to them through my sister. Mm-hmm. This is how that connection begins to happen. And that's the same thing with the energies. When you're talking to that person, you're then in the energy of their experience, and they're talking to you about their house, and all of a sudden you've got a full visual. You can actually astral travel like that right out and remote view that moment. Okay. That's just that your abilities to do that are heightened, are becoming more clear so that you're understanding exactly what you're doing.
It makes things interesting, doesn't it?
If I'll do a house clearing remotely and I'll tell them, okay, I walked in through the door and there's over here. That's who I won't even sit in that corner. How'd you know that? Or up here in the bathroom, your bathroom is here. And how did you know? And I said, I got this feeling and this understanding and a visual and everything that I need to know to be able to understand what's going on and explain to the client what I'm seeing so that it's validating to them. I was feeling this stuff in this room all along. Didn't want to go in there. They had a portal open in there.
Yeah.
You never know what it's going to be, but you're validating to them those experiences as well.
It's trippy. So my favorite thing is people will be like, how did you know that? I just tell them I'm a good guesser. I guess really well. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. This work is fun. It's interesting. It's beautiful. The question I wanted to ask you, I was speaking to my friend Chris the other day, and she's somebody I really respect. I've known her in the real estate world. We've worked together for many years, and she's worked with my family off and on. Her question is, I've got all these gifts. I don't know what my journey is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to utilize these. And I hear that all the time. I hear people say, I can do X, Y, and Z. What am I supposed to do now? What do you think that answer is? What should we say to people?
Not everybody's supposed to be a healer. And then there are all different types of healers as well. I tell people a lawyer that works with children as their legal representative or helping to get children out of homes that are being abused or whatever, that lawyer is a healer of sorts because they're doing something for the well-being of somebody else. Just because you may not have a healer's job as a nurse or a doctor or something like that doesn't mean that you aren't using your abilities in some way to help other people. But they're also to help yourself too. One, to become aware when things aren't going right for you, that you can change it. Also for your own intuition, you can say, I got these two opportunities here, which is the better? And normally you're going to make a pro and con list. And then you can also say, okay, which one feels better? You can ask people that all the time and they could tell you which one actually feels better because at that moment they're actually tuning in. So opening up your own abilities for everyday life is the goal. That's where we are right now with this ascension process. The goal is for us to be able to open up, to be able to sense and feel and read the energies. This is how people won't be able to lie. This is how world peace is going to happen. This is how you're not going to get the abuse because you're going to be able to feel it and see it coming. You're going to be able to walk away from it so that we can have these much more expansive, happy, and healthy lives. And that's what a lot of this ascension process is about. Not just the consciousness expansion, but the body expansion and then our own soul and our own awareness.
Okay. So what I feel like I hear you saying is honoring yourself, going within, healing yourself, being a beacon of light, and then serving others.
Serving yourself serves others.
Okay. What do you mean?
When we were created so God could experience itself, herself, his self, whichever you choose, so that God could experience itself faster. So this is why all of us as souls were created. Being of service. When you are of service to yourself, you are of service to God because you're helping God experience. When you are in service to yourself, then you are showing up 100% for somebody else. When you are in service to yourself, you have a cup overflowing to give. If not, you have nothing to give.
Okay.
You'll empty that cup out in a day, in an hour, depending on the situation. So also, because we are all connected, when you're clear or you're happy and you're in a high vibration and just having this great, wonderful day, you're emitting this energy out. All the people you are connected to through energetic cords, they're getting happiness. It's also being emitted out into the energy field all around you. And I can't think about it. I can't think who did it, but something like one person sending out love into the field can affect up to 500 people around them. If I affect 500 people, those 500 people affect 500 people, each of them. How do you think we're going to heal the planet?
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Lakota talks about all the time. She actually told me the story of how she heard this. She said when she was a child, she met this elder, and she said in her community, if an elder approaches you and holds your hand and gives you a message, you really pay attention. It's a big deal. And he told her that one intentional prayer is more powerful than a nuclear bomb. She talks about that all the time. And I just recently came to the realization of that being accurate, because the nuclear bomb can destroy this house, but this love can rebuild everything. That love can be touched on the other side of the planet, and a nuclear bomb can't be touched on the other side of the planet.
When you pray from a place of power versus desperation, knowing that your prayers are heard and answered, even though you may not see how or understand how, they are always heard, always answered. We just miss the opportunities. But when you pray from a place of power, that prayer is magnified 100 million times because it's about the energy. That's a higher vibration. When you're praying from desperation, oh dear God, please, that's a much lower vibration. It just doesn't do the same thing. That's if someone is not feeling well in my family or a friend or someone calls me, said, please pray. I'm sending out this high vibrational energy. I've sent out prayers, and I am standing right there beside them, holding a higher frequency, holding a space of love, not doing my best, especially if it's someone you love, doing my best not to fall into the despair and the grief and the drama. Do I allow myself to feel it? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There's a place and a space and a time to do that, and you can choose to deal with it and let it affect you, and that is okay. And then help to heal it within yourself. Or you can choose to let it become your story and wallow in it. Then you don't know how to experience anything else because that's your story.
So many people get stuck in their story, right? I know I was stuck in mine for a very long time.
The stories are crazy, and they can range anything from, hey man, you look really beaten, wiped out, what's going on? And oh, I live in this crazy freaking haunted house. Or it could be the young woman, what's going on? You're really upset. I'm single mom. I work 60 hours a week. And a lot of people know that story. Yes. I lived that story. And when I realized that I was using that story, I was like, oh, I need to get rid of this story. That had to do with poverty consciousness, actually. Yeah. I was working on the last bits of any sort of poverty consciousness. And when I realized that I had that story, I was like, and it took me 2 weeks to give it up because I had to think about, who am I? Mm-hmm. The single mother and the work hard and all that, those are labels that people place upon us or we place upon ourselves. That's not who we are. In order to figure out if you're running a story, think about that. Who am I?
No, that definitely makes sense. I know for me recently, I don't know, God, what was it? Eric was on the show last week, and I think it just published, it just went out a couple of days ago. And we're talking about the progression. The house is finished, and now I'm stepping into this healing role, figuring out that I have gifts for the first time. And I was talking about how I felt at that point when that transition point happened. I don't even want to say the words anymore because I would say, I'll say it just for this, but I was explaining how I was broken and all these things. Those words are so far away from where I am now. I don't even want to say the words for the podcast.
Well, because it has a memory, an energy attached to the memory of it. Releasing the energy to the memory, then you'll be able to say it because then it's just data. It's just an app in your phone you don't use, and you're looking through your phone. Oh, I used to live in a haunted house. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then just moving on. So when you can release your story, deep healing happens. And the difference in you from when I first met you to where you are now is almost night and day.
Thank you.
When I met you, it wasn't long after you'd been out of the house.
Yeah, it was still pretty fresh. I was dating Jackie at the time.
Yep.
And She helped me through part of the haunted house. So it was pretty fresh.
Yep.
What I've realized this week, Lakota was in town this weekend. We did a sweat lodge and she did readings. And if you haven't done any of that stuff with her, it's really cool. Then she did this thing at the church where she set up a small medicine wheel and as a healing wheel. And she sang her songs like 15, 18, 20 times. You're vibrating at such a level when she sings the songs. I don't even understand how you vibrate from that, but it's just crazy. And I was reflecting on who I am right now, trying to process that because I work really hard to grow every single day, multiple times during the day. And I came to the realization that old version of me is no longer there. I don't resonate. I'm not that, but I'm having to comprehend how to step into what I am now. And it's been so foreign to me. It's almost a little challenging, if that makes sense. Because
it can be scary too, because you don't know what's next. But then you come to a place of acceptance and knowing that God has your back, trusting in that and your faith and the love in your heart, the way will be made. The way is always made. We just don't see it because we're looking somewhere else for it.
Sure.
It's always there. It's always been there. But we're turned over here looking around the corner of this house when it's standing right beside us. That's like my guides. Sometimes I'll get people call and say, when is my person coming? Okay. I'll tell them I see them. They're about this far out. What do they look like? My guides very rarely give a physical description. I'm like, why? Let me know. Because the person will be looking for that descriptive person, that description, and their person is standing right beside them. They won't do that because it will cloud your judgment and it also limits you. We are here. We are limitless. So they are really good at not providing information that will limit you in any way. So that's the same thing with the healing. When we do healing work on people, we are calling in all this help and all this divine help so that we are not limiting our clients. We're not limiting our friends. We're not limiting ourselves because we're receiving healing at the same time.
I had a reading, I don't even remember who the lady is, a couple of years ago, and I asked that question, when's my wife coming in? Yeah, I want to get remarried. That's where I'm at in my life. I want to get remarried. The lady said, oh, she'll be here. You're going to meet her within 14 days. I'm still not married. Nobody came in 14 days. At least for me, I knew enough that I think for the wrong person or somebody maybe that wasn't prepared or whatever you want to call it, that could have really messed them up.
The thing about it, I don't care who the psychic or the medium is, myself included. We are receiving the energy, the information, the way the energy is holding at that moment. Number one, we have free will. If you don't like what you hear, you can change it. Number two, the energy can change at any moment. So if you decide, okay, I want to do something a little different. Oh, I'm not ready. 14 days, I'm not ready. I got to do stuff to get ready in your mind. Then you've pushed that out further away. There are all of these thoughts and things that can go on that can change the way the information comes in during a reading. It's all about the energy and free will. And our thoughts. Did a person stop it because they weren't ready or they were so excited they're looking everywhere and they missed them?
No, you can overthink it, that's for sure.
Yes, you can.
But luckily, Margaret, I'm in perfect physical health and shockingly good looking. I was prepared. I think the psychic was just wrong.
Yeah, you are shockingly good looking. And
full of shit. So.
You say this all the time on your shows because I do listen to your podcast. So I do know you say that. But he's a very, very handsome guy and he's a really nice guy.
Do you know why I tease about that? The real answer?
Insecurity.
Yeah, because I've believed that I was ugly, weak, and stupid my entire life until like maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So one, I think it's funny now, but I say it.
You're helping yourself heal.
Yeah.
By saying that. And you're now starting to believe that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's funny to say. So, and it's my podcast, so that's where we're moving.
Yeah. So it just goes to show that your thoughts are the most powerful things. Your word is your wand. Your word is your wand. There's frequency that comes with it. You cannot create something if you see it in your mind. If you see it in your mind, it's already created. If you're speaking it into existence, it's being created. That's not just bringing something into form. That's also bringing in energy for abundance, for love in your life, for manifestation, for health. So many people, I could tell you this story. Out with a bunch of girlfriends, and all night long, they're sitting there saying, I'm fat, and my fat ass, and this and that, and they were carrying on so badly, and I was just sitting there, and finally, my body was hurting, and I jumped up, and I said, stop. Do you guys realize that you're creating what you're saying? Right now, you're creating the body image that you have because of your words and what you're saying. So if you were to change your words, your body will respond. And they didn't say it anymore the whole night.
I never was able to comprehend how powerful our word is. We talk about that a lot on the show because it needs to be talked about. It is that incredible. A friend of mine, Pam, a few years ago, I don't know, it was during COVID, and she used to tell me, she gets so mad at me, Wesley, your word sucks. You can't go in there and say this thing, then when you walk out there, say something else. It doesn't work. And I never understood that.
Yeah.
I just never. Now when I look back at it, I'm like, no wonder I wasn't able to manifest the things I wanted. No wonder things didn't flow, because the energy doesn't lie. And I was standing there telling a lie because I was saying one thing, but I really felt something else.
Look at somebody who wants to buy a new house. Their thoughts could be, they want a new house, they're thinking of the new house and dreaming up the new house. They're actually creating the new house for themselves. But then in the next mindset, how am I ever going to be able to afford that? I can't afford that on my salary right now, and the mortgage rates are too high, and my credit is low, and blah, blah, blah. They've just stopped that house from coming to them. They just negated the very manifestation that they had. So when you're talking and you say a negative thought, if you cancel 3 times, or some say clear, alt, delete, whatever you want to use, but 3 times, 3 words, whatever that is to cancel, then replace it with 2 positive phrases. 1 levels the playing field. We want to go higher. We want to go forward. We want to go bigger, better. So then state 2 positives so you actually can clear the energy, balance it out, and move forward in a better way. It seems like it's hard, and you're going to catch yourself all the time. But the more you do it, the less you'll have negative thoughts, because you'll be really mindful of it. Also, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. 85% of them are the same thoughts as we had yesterday. Only 15% of them are new thoughts in the day. If you were to start canceling them out and working to start saying more positive, after a couple weeks, those old thoughts would not be negatives anymore. Now, I know there's an equation you could do, and I tried to find it. And I need to find a mathematician. They could write it out for me so I could get the exact how many days it would take. But that is scientifically proven. 60,000 thoughts, 85%, and then 15% are new. Increase your new thoughts.
Yeah. Or you could buy my book, The 15-Minute Transformation, on Amazon.
That you could do. It's a great book.
And it helps you change the way you think. When you change the way you think, you change your reality.
Gratitude. Everybody talks about gratitude, but if you were to stop right now and take a breath and another one, and then say, I'm grateful for this, you can feel your energy shift.
Yes, you can.
That shift is because gratitude is very similar, probably the closest vibration to unconditional love. That energy of gratitude can change your whole life. Because in that moment, not only are you positive, but it's a high vibrational frequency. Not only are you positive and it's a high vibrational frequency, but then you are acknowledging where you're at that moment. You are not thinking about tomorrow. You are not thinking about the past. You're thinking about what you have at that moment to be grateful for. You're present. That's the difference.
And that reminds me, I haven't done my gratitude list on Facebook in months. I used to do that every day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. I'm going to start doing that again.
Well, I think you're still doing gratitude throughout the day,
I am. I'm just
not publicly posting it.
It's interesting. I've noticed a gauge for me is if I'm spending time with somebody that's not serving me, I can't think of anything I'm grateful for.
It's because you're mixed up in the energy of the other person as well. So the energies are mixing, they're talking and all of that. So highest vibration rules the day. The higher vibration is trying to pull the lower one up. The lower one is trying to pull the higher one down a little bit so that you meet in the middle. But if there's a fight going on, if the lower one doesn't want to come up, then you're going to bash heads. So if you're in the room and trying to have this really great, amazing conversation, and all they can do is constantly complain, you're going to start feeling bad. And you're going to be like, oh, I forgot I had to make a call at this time, and you're going to be out the door. Because that energy is harmful, it hurts. When you keep clearing yourself and healing yourself and all of that and changing your vibration, you begin to become more sensitive. So when you're around people like that, that energy physically hurts.
Let me ask you this question. A lot of our listeners are single. People have gone through relationships that may or may not be great. And we've all had somebody that came in, was a great teacher for us and gave us lots of lessons, which equates out to, if you don't understand that, it hurt, but they actually did you a blessing and helped you see what things you needed to work on. But how do you manage going into a new relationship and not losing yourself? Because when you start mixing those energies, things shift and people make compromises. You're trying to figure out, how do I let Susie in or Timmy or whomever and stay authentic and move forward? Because it seems confusing to me.
It can be hard because when you are first in a relationship, you're excited. You got the butterflies and all that energy exchanging. It's fun. And then you really just have to remind yourself, nobody completes you. You complete yourself.
I don't know. That guy on TV said,
I don't care
it
what he said.
completed me.
Yeah, and that's a big line, and people are still using it. I actually saw it in a Valentine's Day card today. So it's still out there. Nobody can complete you but you. You have to realize that it's your differences and your similarities that are attracting you, because it's about vibration. And you have to keep reminding yourself you are in charge of your own energy. You are not responsible for someone else's energy. Of course, we're not going to go out and intentionally hurt people and do all of that kind of stuff. But it's two separate journeys. You have your journey, they have theirs, and then there's the one that you have together. So you've got 3 journeys. Yours, theirs, and yours together. Can they all mingle so that it's all one big journey? Yes, but that's when you get more wrapped up in the relationship and not the individual self, which you can't be in a healthy relationship without taking care of the individual self.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you don't, all you're doing is bringing your stuff in, feeding it to them, spoon feeding it or force feeding it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing the same. And then now all of a sudden things aren't working well. And then you try to overlook it and we'll get past it. And it's just a moment. But it continues because you're not focusing on the individual and the combination together. You have to be able to do both, to differentiate both. This is my journey. This is our journey.
One of the things that I've learned recently makes sense is when you don't have sex with somebody right away, it gives you the opportunity to build a relationship. If you don't know how to build a relationship, it's easy to go down the other road, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
That's because then all you're looking for is that feeling of being wanted, being attractive, being nurtured and loved that you may not have gotten as a child or wherever that came from, or somebody told you that, whatever. So you're looking to get that in other ways than the way that is the healthiest and best for you.
Sure.
That's not negating. If that's what you want to do, friends with benefits and all that, people have very successful lives with that. And have at it. I don't have any problem. I have no problem with the way people want to live their life and their journey. I try to do my best to be my best and to help as many people as I can by being my best and showing them how to be their best.
I like telling I'm a real estate company, so I train people how to sell, and I tell them all the time, I don't care where you're at, as long as you know where you're at. If you decide to go into a relationship, I was talking to somebody today, and she was talking about a relationship, asking a question, and I asked her, is your goal to have sex with somebody or get married or have a relationship? What is your goal? She said, I want to get married, but the reality is she wasn't even divorced yet. We went on with a deeper conversation, but she's, I never really thought about what my goal was for this relationship. I'm like, you need to figure it out. If you just want to hook up and everybody's happy with that, then good. But it's when you want something more and the person's coming in saying, in this instance, the guy let her know that, hey, I don't do long-term relationships. I'm not looking for marriage. I'm here to enjoy the experience. I'm like, he's here to get laid.
The other thing, people go into relationships and say, this is what I want. Either I don't want a long-term or I do or whatever. But then they get into the relationship and one or both of them decide to change the rules. And the other
I've had that before, yeah.
And the other one doesn't know that the rules changed. And then if they become aware of it, they're, why, how are the rules changed? And what's the reason? This is what we agreed on. So why are the rules changing? So that's the other thing, because people become complacent, like the energy, and then say, I want a little more, or I don't want a little more, or whatever that looks like. But they get used to the situation and then they don't like it.
I dated somebody during COVID, and our whole thing was we're just going to hang out. It's COVID. And all of a sudden, the I love yous came out and I want more. I remember having that conversation. That's not what we said we were going to do. And the rules changed overnight. And I didn't realize, because I'm a guy, I didn't realize the rules had changed. It caused a problem for us. We talked about it and figured it out.
These are part of the stories.
Yeah.
Going back to what we were talking about, these are very common stories that people have. And a lot of these common stories are because of the hurts we've experienced. So we learn how to deal, and then we go to the land of familiar. Everything's new and wonderful, and we're not used to that. Let's throw the wrench in. Let's change the rules. Now you've got that drama and everything that you're used to. You take yourself back to the land of familiar. It's easier to deal with.
Absolutely. And one of the things I've come to the realization is people will show you who they are. And I kept getting in the cycle of seeing who they could be or seeing who they said they were, but they kept showing me who they were. And that one was a hard one. That was hard for me to process.
That's really hard when you're psychic and you're a healer, and also just a person that's very intuitive, can read people very well. We see the soul. We see the person for who they really are, not who they are walking around pretending to be. So when we see that, we have more hope and will tried to sugarcoat the other stuff, but they're going to keep walking around with that mask on until they're ready to take the mask off. But we can see beyond the mask, and that's hard because a lot of people will go into a relationship because they can see beyond the mask. And they'll say, oh, I know I'll be able to get him to take that mask off. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. And they're going to see how wonderful they are. Yes. And they can only fix themselves.
I used to try to do that. I don't do that anymore. But I think one of the things I find difficult when you meet somebody and you have that soul, that past life connection, and they feel so, you know what it's like to have one of your closest friends in the room with you, and there's that deep connection. To me, I can actually taste the energy, and that connection always has this deep, earthy taste to it. And I was watching this video a couple months ago, and the lady was talking about how you meet somebody and all of a sudden it's hot and heavy. She says, that's your sexual trauma connecting. Then if you add that soul connection on there, gosh, man, it can be confusing.
It's not only that it's your trauma connecting, it is also that you are recognizing the soul for the soul and the unconditional love that you've shared and that you still have. Unconditional love, the actual frequency of it, is something that we are not used to as humans, used to that feeling. So it commonly gets mistaken for that heightened sexual lust or orgasmic feeling, but that's really what unconditional love feels like. And because humans have not felt that, or only felt it once or twice, they're not understanding of that. So they will say mislabel that as more of a sexual chemistry when it actually is the frequency of the unconditional love that you're feeling between you two.
You know what I think it really is?
What?
Jesus.
I'm afraid to.
I think Jesus and all of them are up there eating popcorn, drinking a beer, saying, let's throw this feeling and emotion in there. And hey, let's put this person in Wes's path. Let's see how this goes. And they sit there and laugh their ass off.
Watching the movie. This reality is a video game, hologram, movie, whatever you want to call it. It all comes down to the same thing. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I think the key, though, is the answer to me always is inside myself, honoring Wesley, listening to what is going on. And that's hard because matters of the heart are difficult. And you want to be loved. You want to be accepted. You like this person. You're attracted to this person. But God has this unique thing he does for me. When I am with a woman in a relationship that I've passed the expiration date of that relationship, he just cripples me with pain. He just does. A lot of times it'll get so bad, I'll be almost wheelchair bound if I don't walk out of that relationship. And I'm like, thank you for helping me see that.
And why do you think that's all God?
I don't know. I think he's doing me a favor. That or is my subconscious saying, hey.
It's your subconscious as well. Because you want out, so you're creating a way out, which is what quantum healing is all about, is our thoughts creating, and all healing is about our thoughts creating those things. If you're in almost every single client I have worked with, they all have had these thoughts. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Not suicidal, though. You get in a situation, you get in a relationship, you want out. You get in a financial cycle, you want out of it. You just want out of that event or that relationship or whatever's going on at that time. The body doesn't understand that you're not trying to check out because the body is programmed to follow your every thought and command. So then it starts to create things in the body. Starts out with symptoms, and then it works into a little illness, and then it can work into a disease. Almost every single person I have ever worked on has had those kind of thoughts, and they're sick. And they are attached to that illness. It's not the leading cause and the only cause, but it's one of the common factors.
18 months ago, I walked in the emergency room with a 277 heart rate.
You should have been dead.
The doctor said, usually my patients flatline at 260, but you walked in at 277 on your own 2 feet. I'm like, yeah, Marines are like cockroaches. We're hard to kill. But yeah, I had a broken heart. I didn't want to be present. I didn't want to be here. And that day, when my heart rate went out of control and I was on the ground, I made the decision. I knew if I went back to lay down, I would die. And Sandra Grace had told me many times that we get a couple checkout points throughout our life, that there's no karmic debt. I could have just gone and laid down, and Archangel Michael came in the room when that happened. But I thought it was interesting. He landed on the other side of the chair so I couldn't see him. You know, it's like the Superman movie where he just hits the ground in that sonic boom. But he let me make a decision, and I wasn't on the ground long, maybe a split second. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going home today. And literally he came over and I didn't stand up. He stood me up, whispered in my ear, "It's not your time, brother." And so I went to the hospital, and I had all these beautiful lessons that came from that, because I believed, since I haven't talked to my son in 13 years, because once I separated from my ex-wife, his feelings got hurt. He stopped talking to me. I don't understand that. And then they all moved to Florida, so I only see my daughter a little bit. I believed I had nobody here that loved me. I didn't have a family. And 15 or 16 people showed up at the hospital when I had my surgery. I have plenty of family. The beauty and the pain of that was, one, I chose to be here. Two, it showed me that I have people that loved me. And there's all these other beautiful lessons came through. I'm so grateful that I went through that experience.
A broken heart is so real that the medical community gave it a ICD-10 diagnostic code that can actually be billed.
Really? Dr. Iyer said that. That's the heart surgeon I went to, because I was doing my follow-ups, because you've helped me. I had a relationship last year that really hurt, and I had lots of lessons and beautiful lessons to learn from that. He said, "Son, there's nothing wrong, but something's not right." I said something about this relationship, and he just put his hand on my shoulder. He said, a broken heart is a real thing.
It is.
He said, I want you to walk through, or he said, I want you to feel the pain and move through it so you can heal, and come see me in 3 months. I went 2 days ago, and the doctor's like, everything looks fantastic. Everything looks fantastic. He said the medicine is doing really well, and I'm thinking, I ain't taking one fucking pill in a year. But I'm glad the medication's doing everything. I'm healing it myself. I don't need to take the medication. I'm not going to take the medication. That's just my deal. And everything came back great. And you know what he said? We're going to keep you on the medicine 6 more months. I'm like, okay, doc, whatever you say.
Yeah.
But
it's okay, and you don't have to own it. Telling your body when you're coming out, it's okay, we're good. We're good. We're healthy. We're good. We don't need medicine. We don't need anything. We're good. So just reminding yourself of that, and remind your body of that.
It's interesting. So Margret, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you? You do all these wonderful healing things, and you do it long distance. So our friends in Brazil, Japan, all over Europe, and especially our beautiful friends from Moscow, how do they connect with you?
Yes, I do everything. Not everything remotely. I see people in person too. When I'm here in the United States, when I'm not in the United States, I'm in Egypt. My website is seekthelightwithin.com, the way it's spelled, just how it sounds. Also, you could put in margretbryant.org, and it will take you to my website as well. We've added a new domain name to that. You'll be hearing more from me as I am starting to get on some more podcasts and talk about the quantum healing and the Egypt retreat that's coming up in April, all of that. And I just want, when I was little, I knew that the world could be illness-free. I prayed for world peace when I was little. And when I started doing this work, I started really doing this work with other people about 15 years ago. About 10 years ago, they came and they told me, in my lifetime, this incarnation, I will see a disease-free world and world peace.
I like it.
And I'm going to do everything that I can to help make sure that happens.
And I'm going to do everything I can to help you do it.
we're going to do it together.
It's
So
going to be fun. It's going to be fun. You can always reach out to me and I'll connect you to Margret at VB Healer on Instagram. VB as in Virginia Beach. Margret, thank you so much for coming on the show. I love you. You've always been so kind to me. You've helped me on levels I don't think you'll ever comprehend. And I just want to say it's an honor and it's a blessing. And you're one of my greatest blessings. I love you very much.
I love you too. And thank you for having me on here and trusting me, but you make it easy.
Thanks. We've got lots more guests coming on the show. Ty is in town this weekend, so we may have a special episode with Ty. You know, I love Ty.
Yeah.
He is just, he called me earlier and we were talking about girls and stuff, all the things that he's doing, traveling the world. And I just really love him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him this weekend. I think I'm going to make him get on the podcast. We've got lots of fun things coming up. Thanks for listening to the show. Reach out if you have any questions, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.